The best and worst driving test centres in the UK, in the United Kingdom, for 2021. These are government figures straight from the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency website, and so these are the updated and latest figures for driving test centres. Welcome to the Driving Test Wizard YouTube channel. Subscribe to see more videos. We currently have well over 100 videos about the driving test, just about that, and we're adding more on a weekly basis. So there's lots of different subjects, how to pass, real driving tests, and everything is on there. So have a look, see what you think. The fifth best, so we'll count them down, the fifth best driving test centre in the whole of the UK. I stumbled there because I thought that was the wrong one, but it's not. This is the fifth best one. Is on Camden Road, Brecon in Powys, and that has a 21.5% pass rate above the national average. So that means in Wales you're 21.5% more likely to pass than anywhere else in the country. And that gives the Powys, the Brecon test centre in Powys, a 71.8% pass rate. So not doing too bad. That's a nice return actually, isn't it? That 7 out of 10 people pass when they go to Brecon. Just coming in above that is the fourth best driving test centre, and that's in Arbroath in Angus. So we've gone from Wales to Scotland, and that's at Westway Retail Park in Dundee Road in Arbroath, and that has a 23.5% pass rate above the national average. So the national average is 50.3, and in Arbroath they have a pass rate of 73.8. So again, very nice. And looking at the picture, looks like a very nice place to be as well, doesn't it? To be fair, we all should go and live there. It looks really lovely. The third best driving test centre in the country is in Berwickshire in Duns, and that's on 8 Newton Street, and that now has a 31.5% average. And now you can see that actually at above the national average, you can see that the test pass rate there is 81.8%, which means that 8 out of every 10 people that go to Duns will pass their driving test, which is quite stunning really, and you'll find it quite stunning when you see the worst ones, let me tell you. the difference. The second best, and this actually looks nicer than Arbroath, or as nice as Arbroath, is on the Business Park South at Harbour Road, Fraserburgh in Aberdeenshire, and that has a 34.9% higher pass rate than the national average. So it has a 85.2% pass rate, which means you're 34% or just about 35% more likely to pass in Fraserburgh than you are in anywhere else in the country. And that's fantastic news, isn't it, for the people that live there? You must have good instructors. That's all I can say. Maybe that's it, I don't know. The best place, the very best place to take your driving test in the whole of the United Kingdom, in the UK, is in Pwllheli. And Pwllheli, as we all know, is right on the edge of Wales there. It has a 35.4% national above the national average, and that's 85.7%. And again, the national average is 50.3. So we can see that the top 5 driving test centres are either in Wales or Scotland. So I don't know what that says about the standard of driving in Wales and in Scotland as opposed to the standard in England, but maybe maybe it does say something, maybe that's just a coincidence. So that's what this looks like. We can see that from Brecon there's a slight rise to Arbroath, and then a big jump to Duns, and another jump to Fraserburgh and Pwllheli. And Pwllheli is right on the top there as the best driving test centre to go to in 2021. So that's the 5 best. Let's see what the 5 worst driving test centres look like. And the worst one, or the 5th worst one, should I say, is in Crewe. Now, Crewe's a very nice place. The test centre is on 6 Nile Street, and now we can see that we are below the national average, and we're 12.5% below the national average here. So Crewe, the Crewe driving test centre, the pass rate is only 37.8%. Only 37.8%. So that means less than 4 people pass out of every 10 that take the driving test in Crewe. So maybe we can have a look at Crewe and think, well, why is that? But it's not the worst. In fact, it's the 5th worst. The 4th worst is in a very nice part of Birmingham called Sutton Coalfield. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Sutton Coalfield. I've been to it quite a few times. You know, there's good bits to it and bad bits to it, like most places. But the good bits are very nice place to live, actually, Sutton Coalfield. It's got a fantastic grammar school. Everything you would think would be set up for it to have a good pass rate, really. But it has a national average below. It's below the national average by 13.4%. So it's well down, really. And that gives the people of Sutton Coalfield only a 36.9% percentage opportunity to pass their driving test. So maybe if you're in Birmingham and you think to yourself, well, Sutton Coalfield, that's a nice place to go. I think I'll take my test there. I would avoid it if I was you and go to the next one along, wherever that one is. The 3rd worst is in Staffordshire. That's at Stoke on Trent, and that's on Elder Road, 8 Elder Road in Cobridge, and that's in Stoke on Trent, and that's at 14.2% below the national average, 14.2% below the national average. That only has a pass rate of 36.1%. 36.1. It's not that many. So if you get through in there, you're either a very, very good driver, or, well, you're a very, very good driver, aren't you, really? So it's more difficult, isn't it, to pass in these ones than it is on the ones in, you know, in Wales, and in Pwllheli, for instance, and Arbroath in Scotland, than it is in Stoke on Trent, which, you know, isn't that far from Wales, really, is it? It's kind of, well, from where I live, it's on the way. The 2nd worst driving test centre is in London, and it's on 33 Woolwich Road, Belvedere in London. Well, it's Greater London, isn't it, in Kent, really, and that's 35.9%. That's their driving test pass rate there, and that's 14.4% below the national average there. So it's dropping down quite a bit, isn't it? That's the 2nd worst in Belvedere, and then quite close to that is the worst one, in actual fact, which is in Erith in Kent as well, and that's at Crabtree Manor Way North in Erith in Kent. Now that has a massive 18.4% below the national average. So that's getting on for 20% below the national average, is that you can pass your test in Erith in Kent. I hope I'm saying Erith right, I've never been there. It only has a 31.9% pass rate, which is quite poor. Now the thing to remember here is, you know, the driving instructors in Erith are governed by the same set of rules, the same standards as those in Pwllheli. So that means they can't drop below that standard. So that means their driving instruction is above or more or less the same as it is in Pwllheli. The people that take their tests in Erith are no less intelligent, are no worse drivers than the ones in Pwllheli are. So what's the common denominator here? It's a test centre. So these 5 test centres, avoid them like the plague. Go to a different one. Give yourself a better chance. This is what this looks like for the worst driving test centres. And you can see that Crewe here is the 5th worst. It drops off slightly to Birmingham and Sutton Coalfield, and then down to Stoke and Belvedere. But then there's a massive drop off there for Erith. So again, if you can, go somewhere else. Give yourself a better chance. You will have spent quite a lot of money on your driving lessons, and also quite a lot of money on your driving test. And not just the money, is it? It's also the time and the effort that you've put in. And to go to a test centre where you're more likely to fail than you are more likely to pass doesn't make any sense in terms of the money, time and effort that you've put in there. In actual fact, you are 53.8% more likely to pass in Pwllheli than you are in Erith in London. So bear that in mind. When you are booking your test, look for somewhere, it's all on the government website, it's very easy to find. Look for somewhere where you're more likely to pass. So that's the best and the worst driving test centres in the UK, in the United Kingdom, for 2021. Like I say, you can subscribe to the Driving Test Wizard YouTube channel, and on there you'll see lots of different videos, lots and lots of different kinds of videos, all about the driving test. You'll see some about how to pass the driving test. There's one about how to dominate your driving examiner, how to impress him or stroke her. There's videos about how to drive to pass, what kind of style to drive in, and there's also real driving tests, real examples of real driving tests and real driving test routes on there. Have a look, see what you think, subscribe if you think it will help you to pass. In the meantime, I will see you in the next video, and I wish you luck, and I hope it all works out for you. Cheers guys.